Testing 1 2 3. Testing. 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 One. Hey, it's Sunday. I'm streaming. What the heck's going on in the universe? Bum, ba, bum, 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 bum. I thought I haven't streamed in a little while. I've been off on work and stuff, so I thought it was a good idea maybe to do a quick stream. Um, from what I could tell, the audio seems to be working. Let me just check one more time just to make sure. Check on YouTube. Check 1 2 3. Check, check, check. 1 2 3. From what I could tell, the audio seems to be working. All right, so YouTube's audio seems to be working. Perfect. Let's see here. God, the Rodecaster sucks. Let's see. How do I get the camera? The camera's not moved enough. Is that better? Yeah, the camera's. That's worse. Do I have to just move? I guess I do. All right. Sorry about this. It's been a couple of weeks since I've streamed, so of course I'm trying to figure out my streaming setup. I put myself in a little circle here to try to give them more screen real estate. But I figured I haven't streamed in a while. Might as well just do a lunch stream. I got to work on some work stuff today, so why not just have you guys hang out with me while I'm doing it? I mean, that sounds like it's cool, right? I'm going to try my best to turn off the work stuff so it doesn't bother me, the normal work stuff. But I got VS Code open here, man. What am I working on? I am building, oh boy, working on building an Ionic plugin for Couchbase Lite. And I've got some ChatGPT open here. I've got VS Code, which is usually the recommended environment. I personally wish I could use WebStorms, but it's just not as good for Ionic as VS Code. So even though I like WebStorm better, I'm kind of stuck here. So let's first pull some code. Pull, pull. I'm gonna pull some code here and see if I can get the. I made some changes in the house last night, so I need to make sure everything's working there. So there's some magic commands to make all this crap work that I usually keep in a note file. So let me get my notes app open, and I can then have to remember all the commands. I recommend you do the same thing. I recommend you have a notes file that has, like you can see here, I've got Ionic plugin development, and I just keep a bunch of notes open there that just tells me what the heck's going on in the universe. I can cut and paste from my notes file, keeps track of different things. That's good. So what we're going to do is we're going to try running iOS. We'll start out there and make sure everything's working. Oh, crap. I should build the plugin first because I have new code, right? So you have to kind of know where you're at. You can see here I'm in enterprise/example. The plugin is actually loaded in the main directory here. By the way, all this code is available on GitHub. It's in Couchbase Labs. Where's my... Oh, good Lord. The Couchbase documentation will burn your eyeballs, but let me see here. Couchbase Labs /CBL Enterprise Ionic if you want to follow along at home. It is this... Oh, no, that's the old repo. They public archived it. So what's going on here? Ionic wrote the plugin years ago, back in 2018, and they've decided that they're going to archive it. They're not going to support it. I am taking it over. So I've forked it and moved it over to a new home, and I've got some workflows running on it to guarantee that the code's kind of build, but there's no test. There's a lot of things missing in it. So I am going through to try to improve the quality of life of this thing before we ship a first release out for people to start using, right? So that's what's kind of going on here. So the folder structure is, I kind of close out the what we're going to work on today. This example app is here. There's a source folder, and the source folder is the actual plugin code itself, the JavaScript version of the plugin code, okay? And so what is Ionic? Well, okay, if you don't know what Ionic is, let me just describe that. So it's a open source framework. It was based off of Cordova, which was based off of PhoneGap. PhoneGap was built by Adobe back in the early 2010, maybe, something like that. 29, maybe. Long time ago. And so what happens is you can have Android and iOS native code that you can call from inside of JavaScript. So what does Ionic do? Ionic makes a web view and a mobile app. And you write web-based technology, and you can have your web app look like it's a mobile app, even though it's just you're using web technology. The rendering of it is done in the DOM, so it is literally a website in a web view in a native app. That's Ionic in a nutshell. Now, the problem is you may need to call some native stuff, right? Some backend database stuff. Well, that's where this kind of comes in of being able to have some kind of like plugin, for example, that does that kind of stuff. And so that's what I'm working on right now, is trying to make make that plugin, so that you can call Couchbase Lite from inside your web code in Ionic. And that's so I have a bunch of JavaScript code here. This is the JavaScript version of that. And then this JavaScript code has this engine. And this engine is actually what's going to go through in the plugin framework that it's different than Cordova. They call it Capacitor. And it's just Cordova with a bunch of quality of life improvements on it, if you ask me. If you know Cordova, this is pretty good. And I would not recommend using Cordova in 2014. If you're going to do this, use Ionic. It is so much better. But basically, you'll see here that eventually this code will call this right here, this Ionic Couchbase Lite, which is an interface, and that interface is implemented basically a wrapper that calls the actual code, the native code. And so the method names, for example, have to match to whatever you're doing over here to what is over there. And if the things don't match, then things fall apart. But as long as you have matching names, what will end up happening is that this thing will go and say, oh, okay, I get it. I need to call this native code. And then the bridge kicks in, we call it. And the bridge basically goes through and makes sure that the native code gets called. And so that's the magic behind it. So we have this is JavaScript source code. We have iOS source code, and this is our plugin. Then this would be our plugin source code. You go look at it. It's not a lot. It's written in Objects-C right now. I'm going to convert it to Swift, but I have to first prove that all this code doesn't break. I need some kind of way of running end-to-end tests to guarantee that if I were to convert it to Swift, I don't break the universe, right? And so that's what I've been working on right now, is that program that I'm going to run as end-to-end tests on to guarantee that I don't break things when I convert Swift over to Swift. And then I need to add some functionality in it. But as you can see here, this is what ends up happening, is that you have this capacitor plugin method. And what ends up happening is that it basically has a bunch of definitions to the same JavaScript method names I showed you earlier, but it's going to now call those inside of Objects-C, for example. And you can see here is all my Objects-C methods. And we can look at this in Xcode. It's way better to view than VS Code. It's a better quality of life. And I do have Xcode open also, and also Android Studio, because for Android, you'd have to use Android Studio. And the Android code for the plugins over here in the normal spot that you'd think about it in source. Then you have to go to main, and then you have to go to Java, and then you eventually get to the Ionic plugin code, and this is the plugin version. Once again, all the method names have to match and be the same. So the code for here has to match the names that we have over there. Now, there's a bunch of internal methods you can see here that are used for the plugin just to do stuff. But when it comes down to it, like for example, plugin method here, you'll see that's the annotation to tell it's a plugin method. You'll see here, then the file name has to match. Whatever is over in Objects-C, and then what also is in JavaScript. All three of these match, the bridge works, and magic sauce happens. So I changed some of the codes plugin last night. I added some quality of life improvements because I'm that kind of guy. So what I could do is a npm run build to start out with. Okay, and build. If I type in build right, that will do a build on this and guarantee that the plugin actually builds the JavaScript side. However, the native side, if you want to do that, you have to do an npm run verify. And this is a script that just goes through and compiles both the iOS side and make sure that the code is not broken in the plugin, and it'll also go through and compile the Android side, make sure that that's also not broken. So you'll see here, it takes a few seconds as it's going through and doing its gig, but I've already compiled before, not this morning, but I've compiled before. So the Gradles, for example, are cached, and you want your Gradles cached. Apologize, got something in my eyelash. But if you have to build Android from scratch, pack a lunch first time for Gradle, because it's pretty bad. All right, so the plugin builds, and that's good. So now we can go into the example. So I usually will keep one shell here open in the main plugin directory, then one in the example directory. So let's see here. And that way I know that, okay, I can swap between these and do different builds and stuff. So I'm gonna do an npm run build here, and because I do have new code, let's see here. So we have an issue where it's saying, oh, this worked last night, so this is gonna be something stupid. Or I didn't check in all the code. Oh, I forgot to do an npm install. So I added the UUID package last night because I built a data generator that will build random documents, and I needed that for it. So let's see here. So now we get a different error. What is going on here? So we're saying cannot find module update document, and who is using it though? Documents index. But I deleted that. So document index has got to get updated. So all right, we're going in. Let's go ahead and start fixing stuff here. So let's see here. So it's saying that in pages, because I don't need that page anymore, it's saying that the index was not updated. So it still points to this. Let's go ahead and save that. That'll be that. This is TypeScript. So TypeScript looks a lot like C#. What? Source app. Pages, documents. Oh, I probably have a route to it. Yeah, duh. So if you no longer need a page, a little bit of a lunch task here, because you kind of have to put it in multiple places and get rid of it. Let's see here. Let's make that smaller. No. Boy, why is the menu not collapsing? Oh, that's not good. Okay. So it looks like you can just do that to get this back. I'm not a fan of VS Code. I think I've put it out multiple times that I know I sound like I'm a monster for saying that, but I really am not a fan of VS Code. It is the best platform for building Ionic, but I would much rather use WebStorm. What the hell is going on here? Pages document. I removed it from there. Get document, create, get change. That's great. All right, done. Apps does no longer have a route to. Oh, we probably are importing it here. Duh. And then we would also have to make sure menu doesn't import it. Let's see here. Some components. We have a menu. The menu draws. You'll see in a second why, but basically in the documents menu here, we're gonna make sure we don't import that route. I'm pretty sure I changed that last night before I went to bed, so I don't think that exists there anymore. All right, let's try building now. Well, that's much better. So don't check in code at like midnight before you go to bed. You probably should, or at least make sure it builds. npm. So now that it builds, now we need the secret command I was telling you about earlier that you kind of have to just know about. And that's the capacitor run command. So Ionic capacitor run iOS-L-external. I'll give you a list of your devices you can run it from. External just says, hey, we're not going to run it locally here. So this should give me a list of my simulators I can use to run this on. So we'll see here. And we'll get a list of all of our simulators. I've been using an iPhone Max 15. It's the latest iPhone. And let's see here. I do have it here. Here's my iPhone 15 Max. So you'll see here, it's going to run a web server, and then the web server is going to basically, the app's going to point to the web server and render that. And that's the magic of how all this works. Now, there's a couple cool things you could do when you want to debug this. So to start out with, if you just want to debug the JavaScript code, I should, explain that. You're going to want Safari. Safari is going to be your best friend. You're going to be able to go to make the develop menu work. So you're going to go into development and settings, and then you need to go into developer and turn developer on. I think that's an advanced feature. You have to tell it to turn developer settings on. Show features for web developers here in advanced. And then once you have this, turn on allow remote automation. That's going to make your life awesome. You're going to go to develop, and now you can see all the different devices that are running, and you can debug stuff on them. Well, you can see here that I have this example app running on this phone that I now will get a hook into all the JavaScript code that's going on. So for example, if I wanted to debug what the heck's going on when I click on something, I'm going to use this to see the code. Now, it's going to be a minified version of that code, right? Because it's deployed out. So I have TypeScript, so it's not going to be great from that standpoint. You're going to get the minified version, as you can see here, which isn't the greatest looking code, but you could put a breakpoint in. You can see what's going on. That's the important part, right? Being able to see what's going on in the universe is really important. So I'm going to be working on delete document, and you can see here, I don't have a lot of code here, so I'm going to have to go through and modify that. But this is how I'm going to be able to go through and debug and see what's going on from JavaScript land. Now, over in native land, if you're trying to figure out like, how do I debug this from a native standpoint, that's where we're going to get Xcode involved. So we're going to bring Xcode up here. Now, Xcode, you have to have the example app open. So what I mean is that I'm going to close this out and show you from get-go what I'm talking about here. So let me go file, open. And so I'm going to go back and show you that we have, this is the plugin itself. I have an example app. The example app is what I'm building that uses the plugin to prove that the plugin works. In example, there'll be, once again, an iOS directory. In the iOS, there'll be a app. And in the app, you'll eventually have your workspace. This is what you want to open up. You want to make sure you have this open up specific. Now, you can see I already have the plugin code opened up, but you can browse to it. You can see here under your pods, you'll get the plugin that you're working on. And you can see here, this is the implementation code. Why? Because I want to be able to put breakpoints in. Well, the ability to put breakpoints in and be able to debug this is based on setting up the debugger to attach to the actual app that I just pushed out using capacitor. So what I'm going to do is go to debug, attach the process, and you'll see here, there's my app running. Well, now that my app's running, I actually have the debugger hooked up, both the JavaScript side and the native side. This is awesome. So we could test this, right? So I've got my app open here. What we want to be able to do is know that the logging is showing up here, for example. So I'm going to click on the hamburger menu here. And if the universe works with me, there we go. Ionic, not the fastest framework in the world. It's not bad, but it's not native. To say the least, web, you're stuck at the fact that web views, for example, are it's the WK web view, so it's the WebKit version. So it's pretty fast, but it's still single threaded, and you have to deal with all the fact that everything's single threaded, right? So I'm going to go to the logging API, go to console here, and I'm going to set the logging to be all, and I want to set the log level to verbose. What should happen is if I update is I should get some native code. And now you can see here that Couchbase Lite has started. It's telling me it started. It tells me the device it's on. And that's telling me that I know now that my debugging is hooked in between the two of these, which is, I'm going to be honest with you, pretty badass awesome. Right. That means that when we're going through and trying to figure out what the hell's going on in the world, pardon my French, we can go through and play with things. So the first thing we want to do is set up a database. So I'm going to say test one. File location, I'm going to use the default platform. One of the things that sucks in Ionic is being able to find the platform or wherever to save your database files, right? So I made a very simple change to the API. I added a quality of life feature that allows you to get the default platform directory for each iOS and Android, so you don't have to calculate that. Normally, you have to get a plugin and figure out where you want to put stuff. I'm lazy. I don't want to do that. The plugin should be able to tell me this, right? So that's what we do here. If you hit default platform directory, it's going to throw it in the place that you can actually write the things. You don't even have to think about it, right? So I'm going to make a database. I'm going to set this up. So this app works in the way of it's writing code for you, right? So what all this did was make a var, basically, that says, here's a test database that I want us to throw in here. So now I'm going to open the database by just simply giving it the database name. Already have it defined in the app, right? And I'm going to click open. And it's telling me that the database is open. You can see here I'm getting a bunch of logging code, so that's a good sign, right? So now what I could do is I can go through and save a document. So I, once again, have to go to the database name. Now, I'm lazy, right? I don't want to have to generate a bunch of code as a developer. I'm testing this thing over and over again. So I wrote this little generate. It generates random documents for me. I don't have to think about this all this hard. This is a test thing, right? I want to run end-to-end tests on this. I don't want to think hard about this. So this is going to go through and make some documents for me. So you can see here, it automatically made a document, certain type, and I'm going to click save, and that should save my document. And so we can figure that out. We can go to the get screen. So we're going to copy this GUID. So let's go ahead and copy this. Copy that. We're going to go back, and we're going to go to get. And what I could do the same thing is I want to test database one. I want to paste this in, and I want to see whether or not that document comes back. And there's my document. Perfect. I know my code's working. I'd like to delete that document now. So let's go take a look at delete document. And you'll see there's nothing there. Oh, man. Womp, 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 womp. Yep, because I haven't wrote it yet. That's what we're about to work on today. So you're going to watch my patterns of how I like to work on things. Now I'm going to take that simulator. I'm going to move it off screen because I still like to see it. I like to see one of the other screens I have for like a frame of reference, like the save screen, because I want the UI to look almost the same. In fact, I'm going to copy and paste a good portion of one of these other screens and then just tweak it for the delete screen. Because what do I really need? I need the document ID and I need the database. Well, if we think about it for a second, hey Nick, what's going on, buddy? Streaming some Ionic, a little weird, but trying to get some end-to-end tests working. And so this will be interesting because technically speaking, if we look here, man, sorry, I don't have it on the screen right now. If I look at get document and I look at delete, I need the same damn thing. I really do. The only difference is this, instead of saying get, this should run delete, right? And it should give you a message what happened, right? But get document, delete document, same screen. So I got two choices in the world here. I can cut and paste that. That's one option. It's a terrible option. Don't cut and paste code, folks, right? So instead, we're going to modularize out that screen into a React component, we call it, so that we can just reuse the hell out of it because I'm lazy and I don't want to have to then worry about it, right? So we can do that. We can make a new component. So you see here, I've already got some other components like the database name form, and I've already done that. So like a lot of the database screens use the same form, and I just swap out what code gets called in the name of the button. So that's what we're gonna work on this today here. So I know I have that code. I want that to be reproducible. So this is, I'm gonna call this the new folder, and I'm gonna call this the, that's weird. VS Code, don't be doing this. All right, there we go. We're gonna call this the document ID form. And we'll make a new TypeScript file in here, new file, document ID form. And now we have a TypeScript, right? So now we're gonna do some magic here. We know that the screen that we have the good stuff in is in the get document form. So let's move that up over here. We can move our ChatGPT off, give ourselves a full screen of code so we can kind of see both side by side. We can move this nerd off to the side, and now we have some ability to dual task here. So we want all the imports from here. And we're gonna change that. This is now document ID form. All right, we're gonna load React context. Do I need context? I don't need context actually, because the form is gonna be absolutely stupid. It doesn't need state either. All I need is React. All right. It doesn't need database context. It doesn't need this either. Let's see here. What do we need though? We need all these components. So let's import those. That looks pretty good. That's going to get our UI components in. So importing just basically is importing what do we want to import into memory. So we then have to make our component. So we have to define that. We're going to say it's a const. This is TypeScript. So we have to adhere to the rules of TypeScript. I do have the GitHub Copilot assistant installed, and Copilot has given me some like hints of like, hey man, you probably want this for the signature of your component. That's pretty cool. That is exactly right. And then at the bottom, we'll want an export statement, right? So if we look here, when you make a component, you have to export it. So we're gonna export default. That's pretty good. And it's mad because I don't have a return method that returns something. So we're gonna say, and we're going to then look at our, like how, this is how let me show you how a real one would work. So you basically just, I don't need that. I just need, and we'll figure this out. And so it needs, technically speaking, some JSX to return. So we could start with that to say, I have a collection of JSX and I don't know anything about it. And that should, by theory, keep the world happy. Why is this not happy? Type expected. No. That should work. Let's see here. That's right. Return. Am I screwing up here? Nope. it should just be return, and it should just be a basically an empty set. Let's just do P. And that should work. Oh, is it type set because it needs a type? No. That's 100% right. I have a feeling this is just VS Code being a jackass, because that code is 100% right. Let me just confirm though. Let's go to view and open view, explore, and take a look at one of my other components like database form. Let's move this over here, and then we'll go to this again. Database form. I will need a type for the parameters I pass in, but I am not there yet. Return. That's all right. I don't know why this thing's being a first world nerd, but let's go in and just start getting some code in there. We don't want to waste our time dealing with like, why doesn't this work? So we want we gotta look at what we're looking for here. So what we care about is the list right here. This list here, this is the stuff that we want to copy. That's the good stuff that we want inside of our component. So let's copy that. Why is it being such a jerk here? Import. Boy, this is just gonna aggravate the crap out of me. We're just getting started. I'm not in a mood to fight VS Code. It should be a constant component, React component should be there. I should just be able to say return and return some stuff, regardless of what we want here. I think VS Code is screwed up. I'm going to try to close it and reopen it and see if VS Code works. View, open. Oh, the file type. Take a look. The file type didn't come on it. It doesn't know what it is. This is so stupid. VS Code. What a nerd. That's my fault, but I'm going to blame VS Code for being a jerk. Right. Now this should work. Come on, IDE, you can't. So one more reason why I just don't like VS Code. Xcode at least will put your file name extension in, right? It doesn't accidentally not put it in. The problem with with VS Code, you have to kind of know you're manual typing a bunch of stuff by hand, right? In Xcode, I say no, I want a Swift file. Xcode doesn't ask you for file types and stuff. It just knows, oh, that's a Swift file. I'm gonna put that Swift in it. VS Code doesn't. So here we go. So now we're working right. Whole entire time, that's what the issue was. I was starting to get a little aggravated. I'm like, this can't be right. All right. So now we got problems that all this stuff that we want to do, well, that's stuff we want to do, but we don't. This is a component. Its job's not to know that crap, right? Its job's just to render stuff. It's not smart. It's stupid. So we're gonna have to make a type, export type, and we're gonna call this is document form ID type. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna send. We need to build basically like an interface. And Xcode this in Object-C Swift stuff. This would be a type is like a protocol in many ways, like an interface. Well, interface is a class inside of those, so that's wrong. But more like in other languages we call it like a contract, right? I need to say this is a type. All the type does is describe what you're going to pass into me, and we need to know what those are. So that's what we need. So we know that we're going to need a set database and a database name. We know we need that. We know we're going to need a button name. In fact, if we look at this, we did all this stuff. So we're going to start with that. This is going to get us about halfway there. But we're not going to be done because we have also the document. So let's see, set database name should be there. Database name should be here. We're going to pass it in. What do we need? We need set document. So we're going to do set document ID, and that's also a string, right? And then document ID. So we're going to copy these twice, and then we're going to paste those in. Replace document. I'm using VI, so I don't have to do that. So I'm using the VI key bindings. So I need a set document and a document. Do I need anything else? And then I'll show you how we make all this magic. Result message. We have a reset and an update. And then we have button name. This should be button name. Okay. So the magic's going to happen here in the function type. So in the functional component type, we're going to pass it in what type of functional component we want for our arguments. And that's going to be this document form ID type. Now, when we do that, we can pass in, you can see here, we're going to pass in all the parameters, and magically, it's going to know the types of those. And that's important because in JavaScript, normally it won't know the types, and that's bad. And so let's see here. We're missing a couple, though. So let's take a look here. We've got set database, we got database name, and well, we might be able to format this document. So let's go format document and see if it makes it easier to read. It did. All right, cool. So we need to make sure that we got we got database names. So we need set document ID, and then we have document ID, and got to put a comma there, and that should make that magic happen. So now we have a fully functional component. Set document ID says it's wrong. Why is that? It should not be. Set document ID. Set document ID is there. It's a function that takes in a string that returns something. That's cool. Why are we being a nerd here? Set document ID. No, it is literally here. Set document. I spelled it wrong. Document. Oh, let's just copy it. Am I spelling that wrong? Set document. All right, nerds. There we go. It was spelled wrong. And there we go. Now that should work. Everything should resolve, right? Magic sauce. That's pretty cool. So now we have a component that's going to do all that work for us. And now I can just repeat that code. And that means that since I have this, I can test my component theory. I have get document here. If we look here, this is a pretty long component. It's got all that code in it. I'm hiding it right now, right? So here's my list. Just go away. I want to fold that so I can see it. Here's all that code, right? No. I don't want all that code anymore. I would like to just reuse my component. So if we look here, I think we're going to go back in here and we're just going to delete all this. Let's have puppies and kittens. Instead, we're going to import our new form that we just created. So we're going to say import. We're going to call this is document ID form from components. And it should be smart enough to know about that. And now that we've got all this stuff, we can just simply tell it about that. We can just say in here, let's make ourselves a document. Oh, VS Code, don't be a nerd. Document ID form. Oh. Yes, write all the codes for me. It wrote all the codes for me, which is pretty cool. Button name is just going to be called get. We don't need folk get document. And we can see here that now this should render my component. Now, I'm debugging live. I haven't stopped it. And so the theory would be is if I go back to my mobile app, it's still working. In fact, let's just go back and go to save and then go back to get, make sure that we do a new render. And let's just get a get. And you can see my code's still working. So I just completely componentized that in, I don't know, a couple minutes. And now bangers, I can reuse that code. That means now, if we go look at this, this becomes our example on how we do our delete. right? Because we want to be able to delete documents. So let's go back to view, open, and explore. And then let's go open the delete form because that's what we wanted to work on. Delete document right here. Let's get this guy up. We don't even care about this form anymore because we already did that one. So now we can, we want to just kind of reuse our concepts we had before. So you can see here, let's go delete. And I know you can't see it, but I only have so much screen real estate I can see live. So we'll just say that it's going to be there. And then as I start to do some code changes, this should happen live. Like, for example, I can just say hello world here. Hello world. If I close this out, hit save, it shows hello world on my simulator. It's that fast. Ionic is fast, man. And React is chimp level easy to learn. I mean, look, man, I'm not proponent of it. I'm saying I still love native development, but I totally understand if you want to build a simple mobile app and you only know web technology, Ionic is really, really fast to build with. And it's kind of nice. I'm not gonna lie. It's I mean, I know web technology pretty darn well, so I think that it's pretty great. For those kind of developers, it lowers the barrier of what it takes to build something. There's nothing wrong with that. And having yet another thing on your resume of things you know how to do, that's not a bad thing either, right? So let's see here. We don't need this anymore. So I'm just cleaning up my imports to only import the stuff I really truly need. So I'm going to need state and stuff. So in the delete, so we're going to go through it and change that so we can get state and context. And I'll maybe explain why I need those later on. I will need the database context because I need to talk to the database. The provider pattern and the context pattern is what I'm using to make a global version of my databases available to anything in the app. And I wrap the app around the provider and the context. And basically all that means is that it's kind of like a singleton, I guess, in some ways that, I don't have to worry about it. I know that I can get the context of like what databases are open from anywhere in the app, and it just doesn't matter. I don't have to think about like managing the state of it anymore. It's pretty nice. And there's patterns in both in Android and iOS native development that you can do these same things. So we're gonna go here. We're gonna need all this stuff. So we're gonna just borrow all this stuff because we need all of it. We're gonna need a document ID. We're gonna need a database. We're gonna be able to set the database. We're gonna need we want a string message. All that stuff's the same, it turns out. In fact, the reset method, we need the same thing. Apologize if I'm nasally today. Allergies are kicking up here, and it's not been great. So this update function, I kind of want to copy, but it's just this is the code that's gonna be different. So we're gonna go here. I mean, technically speaking, I could probably make a base component that would even do like have all these other things in it and then inherit from that. You can go pretty deep into the inheritance game here. But I think we'll simplify this down by keeping at least this part unique. So we're gonna go in here, we're gonna do this, paste this in. We're gonna say this is delete. And if I do this, take a look. We have a delete document form now. It was that fast. I don't know what to say, man. React is kind of cool when you want to do certain things. You can be super lazy about building UI and make it really fast. So I got my delete document screen. Now I just have to write some business logic to replace the update business logic I have here. Update to me just means I'm updating the code. I'm trying to do some kind of update, right? So it shouldn't really matter the difference here. So we see here, I'm getting databases from databases. Well, databases is coming from context right here. And so I just know that I have a database name that you're going to put in, right? So I'm going to say, for example, test one. Actually, I'll just put in test two. And if I were to hit delete, it'll say, hey, I can't find that database because we didn't define that database. Database one is the only database we've defined so far. So it will go look and say, hey, does that key exist in the database context? We could have multiple databases. It doesn't really matter, right? And so what we're going to do is get the database, make sure it's not null. And then once we do that, this is where we're going to do our business logic. So this is the only thing that I would say it feels weird if you're not used to promises and how they want to handle things in Ionic. So everything returns as a promise. And if we go look in our Object-C code, we can kind of see a kind of understanding of that. Let me go do that. I always try to like at least teach what I know when I'm on a stream. So you'll see here that I have, let's find document delete because that's what we want to do here. So let's go find document delete. We can walk through the process, what the hell is doing. So if we go, that's database delete, but we want document. So we're going to find database save. There's a lot of methods as you can see here. Database, get indexes. So there should be two different deletes. So there should be one for database and one for document. Delete document. Here we are. All right. So what's this code going to do? So one, if we look at it, we have a cap capacitor, basically plug and call. And then we're going to run this in the main thread. So we have a dispatcher here that's running on main queue. Why do we have to run on the main thread? Well, UI WebKit view, right? So this is a WK WebKit view is running on the main thread. For our code to talk to that WebKit view that's there, so it's web view, right? We have to be on the main thread because that's what it's running on. If we don't run on the main thread, we can't send information to it because we'd be on a different thread. That's a problem, right? So the only fix for that is to basically make sure that whatever we do on that same thread so we can call back and forth. This code sucks. I would like to change this out with some Swift code, which I plan on doing once I get these screens done so I can prove that my Swift code doesn't break the plugin by changing from Object-C to Swift. That's why I'm building these screens. This is basically give me some kind of proof that, hey, things work, and then I can write some end-to-end tests on them, and then when I start changing out the Swift code, I can run the end-to-end tests and make sure it still works. All right. If we look here, we're getting the name of the database, we're getting the name of the document ID, and then we want to see whether or not there's concurrency set up on it. I'm trying to think here. I don't think we need to take that into account just yet on the delete screen. Because that'd be more to have to do with replication. We'll deal with that in a second here, or in a little bit. So see here, we get the database then, and then we basically, if we can't find a database, we throw back an error, we receive that. So you can see here, this is what happens though. When you pass in this call, the communication between the JavaScript code and the Object-C code is happening is via this call promise, basically, or this callback. And so we call, and then we just tell it whether or not we pass, which is a different parameter, or a reject. A reject means, nope, there was an error, something happened, right? So you can see here, we then go get a document, and then we go through and we check for concurrency on it. And then we delete the document, and then if it goes, we basically do call resolve. Now, resolve means that it went great. Everything's great. This is cool. We're awesome, right? Now, if we basically have an error, we're going to check that. And if we have an error, we're then going to use the call error and send back an error message, right? So we basically have a couple different ways we can handle this in JavaScript. Because of path, we're going to either give you a happy or a bad path. We're either going to send back a error, or we're going to just resolve with nothing, which I don't also agree with. I think that that's kind of weird, but that's how the current plug is written. That's what the current customers that are using it are used to, and I don't want to change that because that will mean that they'll have to update their code. That's bad. So let's go back out of Xcode and go back over to VS Code here. So since this is a promise, we actually want to not call the get document. We want to call delete document. Well, we need to know what that is. So let's open View and go back to Explorer and go look at the actual plugin code. In here, we have a documents API. This is the JavaScript version of the API that we just looked at in Xcode, but this is the JavaScript version of it, the other side of the stuff that does it, right? So we're going to then minimize this view. I should put this back to left side because then I can hide and show it like that. I like it on the top here, but for streaming, when you're trying to keep the maximum amount of screen real estate available, not as nice. So in VS Code, you have the ability to click on this little thing here, and it will show you all the different methods. And I don't scroll file. And Xcode has this also. I see developers scrolling files. You are wasting time. What are you doing with your life, man? Don't do that. Instead, just use the pull down list and find the method you want. I have to remind people this all the time, and that's not cool. So just remember that. Oh, I opened document. I need a database. Let's pay attention here. I was like, wait a minute, those method names don't look right. Here we go. So now we can go to the database, and what we're looking for is the delete document. So there's delete database. Let's look for delete document. All right, here's our implementation. We can see here that we need to send it a document, which we need to get. And then, oh, geez, oh, Pete. Okay. All right. pack a lunch here. Um, we need to get the document in order to delete it. This is not how I would have wrote this API. If I would have wrote this API, in fact, I'm pretty sure the native API doesn't need a full document. It just needs the ID. This is a lot of work because you have to go get the document from memory. What if you don't have it in memory anymore? You just want to delete it. That's not great. Let's go look at Xcode and see. I'm pretty sure delete document just takes, or does it take the full doc? Okay, they do get the full document. All right, so they're trying to emulate the API, the native API. I would have just asked you for the document ID. There's no need for it because I could then in native just get the document with the ID. I mean, you're passing the rest of the document in, but if you look here, the only thing we really scrape out is the document ID. We don't scrape anything else out of it. I could cheat. I could literally just make a document with that ID and send it in without the rest of the fields, and that would probably work. That feels like it's cheating. But we basically could use this existing code we have here, right? So for delete document, we're going to get the document back. We make sure that there's no document. And then once we find the document, then we nuke it. It would say, so then what we want to do is say db.delete.document, not database. And we have the document. It is called doc. And then we have to say, then, and we want this code. And then we want to do catch error. And I know this looks like a bunch of garbage, and it is. The promises stuff, cascading all these promises can make some really buggy code. And we're going to say here, we're just going to return error. We don't know why. We'll just give it whatever the error is from the API, right? And we'll say here that instead it is, this is not document found. It'd be and I usually have a standard message. I should put that in a file somewhere, the standard message I send back. I should do that because it's I always end up like cut and pasting it from somewhere, and that feels dirty, right? But if I go look at database close, there's a standard message, success, I think. Yeah, I just call it success. It's only used for unit tests. All right. Believe it or not, that big mess, if we unpack it, actually would work. So I'm unpacking some lunch here. What are we doing here? So we got a bunch of promises going on. So first we get the document, right? Then we have to make sure that the document came back and it's not null, because if you give us a database, a document ID that we don't have, well, then we can't delete it. We don't got it in the first place. That's bad, right? So then we go through and make sure we have the document. If we got the document, great. If not, we're going to say document not found. So once we know that we have the document, then we're going to tell database delete the document. So we're going to then, if it's successful deleting the document, we'll show a success message. And if not, we'll show an error message. Let's format this puppy and we can take a look at what's going on here then. So this looks pretty cool. Let's go to live hot reload. Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. Hot reload on it should be on every platform. If it's not, that's a cardinal sin because it's pretty great. Let's paste in, oop. That's bad. So let's go back to get document. I don't remember the document ID. There it is. Let's copy this. Make sure we can still get it. That document still looks good. All right, let's play around with our delete and see whether or not it really does the work that we want it to do. So we can first paste that in. And then let's just change it to a 7. What we should get back here is that, well, first, let's do the first thing. We'll say database 0. That database doesn't exist. We should get an error message that says database not defined or set up, right? We do database 1 here, but if we look for document 7, that's not going to work because that document doesn't exist. And boom, look at that. We crashed out. So that's not good. That means that our Object-C code does not handle having the wrong document ID because we just bombed out. This is literally bad, right? So this is not a customer experience that I, as a developer, want where my freaking app bombs out. That is garbage, right? So we got to wrap some of this stuff in a try catch. That's going to be the only fix for this. We have to go through and make sure, because we're on, if you look at this code here, we go through, check the database, but we just assume we're going to get a document back, right? We're assuming that this is all happy path here. I don't see any catch and tries, anything, right? What is this saying here? Yeah, I know it's depreciated. One thing at a time, Xcode. I got to first validate that this code all works before I Swiftify it and make it better. All right, so that's bad. So that means if we go back to our app's going to bomb out. It is just, it's dead in the water. If I were to continue this, we're bombed out. We're going to eventually get to the call stack, and we're pretty much dead in the water because we cannot get past that. All right. So this is where we don't want to be. We don't want to be in the point where we just died and killed our app. So let's kill the app, stop the debugger, and then now talk about how do we fix this, right? And this is the reason why I wanted to write this test app, to make sure that in the perfect world that all this code's working as best as possible. All right. So let's see here. We need to probably take a look at, and my Object-C is a little bit rough. When I say rough, I just haven't used it in a while. So we're going to do the same thing we do up here, down here. So we're going to copy some calls here. I'm going to paste it in. And we don't want to delete the database, though. We're going to try to get a document. So we want to do, error should be up here. And then what we're going to do is remove that database call. We're going to take all this code, move it up here. But first we need to get documents pointer, because if we don't have documents pointer, we can't run this. All right. So now we assume that magic stuff happens. Let's see here. What do we get here? Yeah, I know that those are depreciated. I'm going to try fixing this. But first, I've got to get this code to the point where it doesn't bomb. So what are we doing here? What did we change out? So we wrapped around the document into a try catch. If the exception happens, we're probably say uncatched exception. And we're going to tell them a hint that we think that the document ID does not exist. Document ID is probably invalid. All right. Puppies and kittens, rainbows. But now, here comes the problem. I changed Object-C code, okay? If I change Object-C code, it's not as simple as an npm build. I got to go back to what we talked about earlier when I first started the stream. I got my terminal here. I got to close this out. I get my other terminal, and I have to go backwards. I have to first build the plugin and make sure it validates. That's going to compile the Object-C code. Then I need to rebuild the example app, and then I need to publish the example app to the simulator to make sure that that this didn't break. So what I'm going to do here is npm build. This will build the where am I? npm run build. You know it's bad when I can't remember run build versus regular build. Okay, that's working. npm run verify. And by the way, some of these commands don't come out of the box with Ionic. There's stuff that I've just done because I'm trying to make my life quality of life improvements. The verify is just basically building both Android and iOS to make sure it works right. And we still have to test all this in Android, by the way. That's the other part, because it's cross-platform. I have a feeling Android will probably very similar behavior, because there's probably not a try catch there either, which means if we send the wrong document ID, it's probably also going to bomb out. That's not good, right? All right, so let's see here. So now that we have that working, we can go back here, and we can then do our same thing. We're going to do an npm build. npm run build. Come on, Aaron. It's Sunday. We should be not forgetting to run inside there. And I know the chunks are too big right now. It's on a mobile device. You're not going to notice this. But I mean, yeah, probably if this was a real app, I'd probably take a look at trying to get those chunk sizes a little bit more manageable and probably break that down a little bit more. It's an end-to-end test app. That's all it does. I just don't care. All right, let's run capacitor again. And we should get our simulator back up here. And we have to do all of our things that we did before. We have to go through, attach our debuggers. and make sure that they're all cool so that we can see if it bombs again. So we're going to tell it to run on the iPhone 15 simulator. And this is cool. Should take a few seconds. It should build up. And then while we're also there, once it's done, Xcode is saying, hey, you've changed some code. Do we want to change that? We're like, yeah, that's cool. And so then we also want to make sure that Xcode can talk to it. So let's go debugger, attach a process, debug, attached to the app process. That should get us our app there. And we can prove that by, once again, going into the app, going into console, and setting our logging so we can see everything. Bare minimum, let's go verbose, go bigger, go home. And we can see here now that that's updating in Xcode. So now we know that we're working right. All right. Do I have the document ID? I don't remember. Let's see, go to setup. Let's say database test one. We'll say platform default setup. That's cool. Let's open the database, test one. That should open the database. Let's go ahead and get a document, test one, paste this in. I forgot the GUID. We'll make another document. It doesn't hurt. Let's go ahead and make another new document. Save. Let's database test one, generate a document. That looks good. Let's copy the ID real quick. We'll copy that. Let's go ahead and save that. Document's created. We'll make sure we can get it. Paste that in, get document. That looks cool. Now let's go back to the delete here. And so we were testing. We know that if we do this, let's do it to B instead of A. This document doesn't exist. And so we shouldn't crash anymore. Okay. Well, we didn't crash there. Okay, but we still went to black screen and nothing. And that's bad. That means that when we head back, we're not heading back in a way that the app can handle it. So let's see here. We're going to need to know why. We're going to need to know which path we went down in order to figure this out. We're going to have to put a breakpoint in and figure that out. Unfortunately, there is no ability to get back in the app, and that part sucks. So all you can do is close the app and start over again and reattach the micro debugger, right? Unfortunately. But now we're gonna attach ourselves in the delete document method and figure out where we're breaking, and then we'll go through and fix that. So let's go ahead and do everything we did before. Welcome to Troubleshooting 101. We're gonna first go through and say console. We're gonna set our logging back up so we can see everything that's going on. That's gonna give us a good idea of what's wrong in the universe. We'll go back to our setup, our test one database, platform default. We'll open the database, test one, that's working. We'll go and save a new document, generate a document, test one. We'll grab this ID, copy it, save that, that's cool. And then we'll try to go delete a document, test one, and then we'll change this to be the N. And let's go to delete, and we should hit a breakpoint here. All right, so let's see what's going on here. So let's also make sure we have a breakpoint in the catch to make sure that this is working. Oh, we don't have. We're calling resolve here. We should return after here. I bet you that's what's going on. So it's going to call reject and then resolve, and that's going to bomb out because we have two calls going back and we only can have one. We should be returning here. I think that that's the flaw, but let's just double check that that's the case. All right, so let's go here. Yep, we can see here that we instantly hit the call. We're going to say, hey, this is bad. And then we're going through and we're going to hit the second recall. So, all right, we already know where the problem is here. So we need to do a return statement here. Now, the other thing I could do is I could do this here. And this also would solve the problem, right? Because the resolve would happen here. I think that's a go-to statement. Not a fan. What is this? I'm looking to see. Oh, this is the thread. Okay, so this, yeah, so this. I think that's a better way to handle this. And we'll just return that way. We never get down to this code. And the only way to get down to this code is the whole happy path worked. And then it's like, okay, everything's cool. So that's what's going on here. Changing Object-C code. Yeah. Oh boy. You should have seen my last week. It's been nothing but that. Oh boy. It's not been great. I'll be honest with you, right? I mean, don't get me wrong. I've told people 100 times, I think Object-C is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But man, when you're so used to using Swift, oh, it feels painful. It really does feel painful. It feels like somebody kicked you in the crotch like 3 times really hard. It's not fun. All right, so we know that that's what's going on here. We got a double call. That's going to kill our app. So let's go ahead. We're not going to even play around with this anymore. I'm pretty confident that's where the problem is. So let's go ahead and kill the app. We'll kill it here, and then we'll go back here and rebuild. So we need to do npm build, npm run build. Oh, God. It's going to be that day. Going to keep putting the run command. npm run verify. And really, I don't need to run the npm build here, technically speaking, because I didn't change the JavaScript code. So I don't need to build the JavaScript code because that's what npm build does. I just get in the use of doing it. So that way, if I don't forget to do it. And so it's just this, hey, in my mind, I want to keep everything consistent. If I keep things consistent behavior, then I don't have to worry about like forgetting to do something. So I'm going to do it. Now I've got the plugin built. I'm going to run npm build the example app, npm run instead of build. That would be helpful, Aaron. That will rebuild the code. We didn't change any JavaScript code. So once again, we technically speaking don't need this. I like doing it anyways. Consistency is how you become a good developer. All right, we'll run again. We should see the asking us for which simulator we want. We're going to run on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and we're going to update that. That's going to push a new version out. We're going to reread from disk because the plugin's rebuilt, and it's going to then push it out. Once we have the app running, we can go back to Xcode. Once again, if you do this long enough, you'll get used to it. It's not that hard. You're going to go back into the debugger. You're going to reattach the process. So that way, if something dies out, we can see it. I am so confident I'm going to delete my breakpoints because I'm pretty sure that that this is going to stop the app from busting, and we should get the proper null back, the proper message back. So let's go here and go to setup, test 1. We're going to do stamp bump done. Oh, we should probably turn on console logging just in case we get some kind of weird, interesting thing that we can see in the console. Oh, update that so that way the logger's working. We'll open up the database. Test 1. That's cool. Let's go in and I know for a fact I don't have that damn document. All right, let's make a new document. We'll have a lot of documents in the database by the time we're done here. Maybe I'll show you how to pull a document off the simulator. It's pretty fun. Let's go ahead and generate. We got to generate a document. We want to make sure we get the full GUID of that. So let's copy that. We'll click save. That saves it to the database. Now let's go back to delete. And test 1. And we're going to put this in, but we're going to add in a couple fakeness in it. And we should not. And we bumped. Shit. I should have had the debugger. Figuring out what's going on here. Why? Well, that would mean it's JavaScript code that's dying, not Xcode anymore. Uh-oh. Well, that's less work. All right, so let's go to our friend's Safari. How do we do this then? Well, in Safari, can I make Safari so you can see it down here? In Safari, you could also open up the app and debug the JavaScript side. I showed this earlier on the stream, so we're going to do that. And we're going to put a breakpoint in on the delete stuff to see what the heck's going on here in the world. Figure out why we're getting black screen and nothing. I have a feeling something's getting to be null when it shouldn't be. That would make logical sense. Let's go to pages. We know this is a document page. We know this is the delete document page. We know that we're in this land here, that we're failing. Oh, wait. So get document would fail. So where is get document? In this example, it'd be get document that should be failing because we say then we don't have a catch on the outside of this, do we? I only see one catch. That's what's going on. We're not catching when. So this is the cascading BS of JavaScript to remember that we are doing multiple things here. I believe that that's what's going on. Let's see here. We're not cascading a multiple. Oh wait, we are right here. So let's see here. So we have a catch in the document right here. This should catch when a document fails. Database should not be null. Then we should be able to go in and say, if the document's not null, then we have a catch on this. And this is the actual delete call. But technically speaking, it would be the document. We don't have the document, so it should never go through. We should never get to this path. Instead, we should die here saying that we can't do it because of the fact that it couldn't get the document in the first place. Okay, so why do I look in Safari and I don't see that code? That would mean like the distribution didn't get out right, which does happen from time to time. And there's a clean command that I've built to fix that, but I just have a hard time believing that that's what's going on here. Let's go look at this again real quick and see. Maybe I just read that wrong, but I'm pretty sure I only saw one catch, and that would be causing the issue here. Let's go look here. Here's a catch. Oh, no. Okay, we have two catches. All right. So this is what we're going to do. We got our breakpoint in here. We're also going to put a breakpoint here. Set results message, set results message. And we have set results message here as state. Those all look cool. All right. Those and update that. Let's go to the database. Oh, shoot. I told it to go to the wrong directory. Delete that database. I'll have a hell of a time finding it otherwise. Let's go back to setup here and set up with the platform default. That should work now. Now we should be able to open it. And now we should be able to save a document, generate a random document, copy that, save, go back to delete. So we should have the debugger open. In fact, we can even put a breakpoint up here just to really kind of walk through all this. The promises get a little snaky when you kind of have to make sure you have a breakpoint after the call for each promise that you want to kind of dig into. Otherwise, you're not gonna see it because it's like a threading thing. So I know it looks like I have like 1,000 breakpoints in there, but kind of need it if you want to see what's going on. Let's go ahead and delete. Oh, I just deleted a database. I'm in the wrong screen. Ah. Open. Save a new document. Copy that. Save. Now let's delete a document, not a database. Paste. And hit delete. And now we're hitting breakpoints. All right. So we're going to check the database name. So we can, everything you can do in Xcode, you can do here. So you can see here, I can just hover over. I can go over here. This is my call stack. I can see my variable names. Here's my closures set up. You can see here, this is the call stack over here. Your full debugger, all the things you'd want. I can make this bigger because it probably looks like turd on the stream. Let me just double check here. We can make this bigger. Hopefully you guys can read this better, but you can see here's our closure variables. We have our call stack over here, and we have got a ton of breakpoints in to try to figure out what's going on here. So we can have our stepper right here. So I'm going to step into this, right? I know my database is not going to fail, so I'm going to come down to here next. So I can delete this breakpoint because I know we're getting there. So let's go ahead and go here. Actually, we'll just click run because we'll hit our next breakpoint. So let's see what our document ID is. So document ID is wrong. We know that, right? And we should get down to here. And then we should just kill out. And puppies, kittens, and rainbows should happen by theory, right? So let's see here. Let's go ahead and click continue. And so is the document no? Oh no, the document is not null, but the ID is null. And so we're escaping through because the data is not formatted in the way that I thought it should be. We should be checking doc. It is an object, so that this is the problem. Oh boy. So inside the document, the ID is null. And then there's another proc called doc that is empty. So we need to check doc.id to see if it's not null. That's our bug. Okay, well, that's pretty easy to fix. Thank you, debugger. You are awesome. Let's add in our equal. Hot reload. Go back to save. I think I have that. I don't. Generate a document. Copy. We'll save that. We hot reloaded, so the database is now set up. Platform default. Great. Let's open the database. Puppies, kittens, or rainbows. Let's go ahead then and go ahead and save a new document. Make sure I have that. Save. Boom. Document created. Now let's go ahead and try to delete the document. Test 1. This should work now because it should tell us document not found. Ha 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 ha! Our bug fixed. Let's go ahead and try to paste in the real document ID and see if this freaking code actually works. Delete. Success. And we can prove that because we can just go in and try to copy this document ID and go to the get and make sure that the get document doesn't work. Paste. Okay, so the get document screen is busted in the sense that it found a document, but it's not supposed to show that because the document ID is null. So we need to go look at our get document screen and fix that bug too. So here we are. Let's go to get document. Since we're already in here, obviously what's happening here is in the update, we are not taking into account. It's the same problem here. So we have to say it's doc.id not equal to null, else document not found. That's what's going on there. Go back here. We got hot reload. Get document not found. Fixed. All right. Whoa. Whoa. All right. So I've got everything I kind of wanted to get done on the stream today, and it's an hour and 14 minutes in. Holy crap. Look at this. So I got save document done. I know I got get document done. I know I got delete document done. I've already did last night. I got all these working. So the database copy, all those things work. I did not work on. No, I did get maintenance jobs done, didn't I? I got Compact done. Because technically speaking, the only maintenance job that's in this current version. This works. Yeah, it does. Okay, never mind. I did do that. It was late last night when I got done coding. It was like midnight. I'm just now trying to remember like everything I did last night. But yeah, this is working. So I got all the databases done. Blob, I need to do a little bit of research on. And so I think that's what I'll probably end up handling next. I got to think about blobs are like images, right? And I got to think about like how I'm going to do this quickly so I can test it. I don't once again want to have a lot of code in my end test app because I don't need to have a fully functional app. I just need to prove that the blob stuff works. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to embed into the app a couple blobs into like the data generator service that I already have. I wrote a data generator service that goes through and just generates data for me on the fly. So that I'm lazy. I don't have to type in things, right? So I have this data generator that just generates a bunch of random data. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify the data generator to also generate random blobs, and I'll not random because blobs are really hard because they're pictures, right? So, but I'll encode like four pictures, four small pictures. I just need them to be like 2 kilobytes at most, right? So it could just be like a black dot as far as 1 kilobyte. But I need it enough to code it to guarantee it works, but also be able to decode it coming back from the database, make sure that it's the same image. So we need there's a SHA1 key that gets generated a signature of the image. That's how we can validate whether or not the blob was saved or not when it comes back, when we ask for it to come back. Um, so I think I need to go through and just create some images, embed those into the data generator, and then once I do that, I can hit the high time of the blobs, and that will get blobs off my list. And you have to be able to do credit against blobs, right? You have to be able to create a blob, you got to be able to see the blob, and you have to be able to delete the blob. Those are all important. Blobs get attached to documents, and they're basically like, think of it like you log into LinkedIn. And when you log into LinkedIn, you get your user profile picture up there with your user profile. The blob would be the user profile picture. And LinkedIn, technically speaking, is a couch-based customer, so I'm pretty sure that's probably what they're doing is a blob. But yeah, so that's probably what I need to take a look at next. But I got to go read the API a little bit. I also have to remember how, and I don't remember how the serialization works. I think I just encode it, and I'm gonna have to take a look and see like how I need to probably encode it in JavaScript, and then I think the API needs it passed over already encoded. I'm pretty sure that that's what it's asking for, but these are all things I need to validate. So there'll be a little bit of research, and that's not fun watching somebody stream a bunch of research. So I think I'm going to call it for today. We had a good hour in for our lunch stream here, and I need to go eat the real lunch because I haven't eaten lunch yet. And then I'm probably going to do some research on this blob stuff, and I will probably maybe stream again later on tonight, or definitely I'll have some lunch streams this week. As things are, most of my defects in production are now fixed. I have a little bit more time I can spend on streaming again. So apologize, I haven't been around for a couple weeks. I've had a really rough stretch of production defects that I can't stream willingly knowing my team is struggling through getting production defects fixed. That just doesn't feel right. I need to be with them, helping them make sure we get things onto production. So once that is not the case and everything is back to normal, which I'm just about there now, then it becomes a lot easier to be able to do this kind of stuff. So I'll be back to streaming again here. So I appreciate everybody for attending the stream. For you watching on YouTube, I know you guys are out there and stuff. Thanks for watching. I will probably be working on the streams for a short period of time until I get this at least to the point where I can push it out. I'm going to probably stream the conversion of Object-C using AI. I think that that's something that will be fun to see how well it works. And so that will be definitely the minute that I have this app done and I know that all the code works. Oh yeah, I'm going to stream like how the hell to get out of Object-C, and how well does it work, and how much shit do I have to do to make it work right? Pardon my French. And really, the real issue I think is going to be is that the Swift code needs to be improved, even the AI generated stuff, because you have things like guard, you have things that you could just make the code so much better. And we're not talking try catch anymore. We're just talking about a better way of writing code. Swift is a better, more robust way of writing code, if you ask me. So I think my gut feeling is AI generated code gonna suck. I think it's gonna be okay, but I think I'm still gonna have to massage it with a bunch of guard statements and stuff like that to guarantee the stuff that we just saw today, where bombs doesn't happen, right? Because this code was written, it's written 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. It was in 2018 it was written. And it's been maintenance by a couple people, but they were not Object-C developers. They were JavaScript developers. So they, at least that's my understanding. It feels that way from looking at the Object-C code, that most Object-C developers would know like, hey, this is bad. I should probably put a try catch in. And there's a lot of try catch missing there. So that gives me a gut feeling. They're not experiencing it, which is fine, right? So anyways, thanks everybody for attending. Nick, it's awesome seeing you as always. I'm sure we'll talk on Twitter, but otherwise I'll probably be back on tomorrow for a lunch stream, and we'll probably, hopefully I'll have most of this app done, and we'll maybe even take a look at that, converting it over to Swift stuff. Hopefully, we'll see.